Hello and welcome to episode 86 of my Wurm Unlimited tutorial series. This episode is going to be on favour and sermons. So let's start with favour. Favour is tied to your faith. When you raise your faith by doing actions your God likes, your favour will then slowly replenish over time to match your faith. So as you can see here, my favour is 27.76 and my faith is 27.76 as well. I raised my faith from a while ago from 27.20 I believe, and got it to this. Then slowly my favour regenerated. I will show you the process in another episode when I get to prayers. But suffice to say, your favour will always match your faith. Okay, think of favour as the priest's manna. It is what you will use to cast spells. If you cast a spell, it will use your favour up. Then it will slowly replenish back to what it was over time. Remember also that you can use spell gems to capture your favour into. So why would you do that? Why would you use spell gems to capture your favour? Well, let's say you was going to fight a black dragon like we did in a previous episode. You're going to need a lot of favour, because you're going to be casting many spells. So what you can do beforehand, over a period of I don't know how long, you can keep filling up spell gems with your favour, waiting for it to replenish back up to what it's capped at, and then filling another spell gem. Obviously, the higher you can get your favour before you start doing that, and the higher your gems are, the more favour they can capture. Anyway, what I want to do now is I'm going to read from the wonderful Wurmpedia what it says with regards to favour. So here we are. This is from the Wurmpedia page under the heading of favour. Favour is used by priests and champions in casting spells. The maximum amount of favour you can have is equal to your faith. Favour replenishes automatically. The rate of replenishment is slow and decreases the more favour you have. Going from 0 to 30 favour takes about 3 times longer than going from 0 to 30. The actual faith has no noticeable influence on the rate of replenishment. Now remember that what it's talking about here mainly is with regards to Wurm Online. With us Wurm Unlimited players, we will notice perhaps it's quicker. So, continuing on, a good rule of thumb for favour gain from 0 favour is 2 minutes to gain 10 favour, 10 minutes to gain 20 favour, and 22 minutes to gain 30 favour. So you can see in Wurm Online it can take a while to get that favour back. But then of course you've got other fun things that you can be doing whilst waiting for your favour to replenish. Favour gain is halved when doing an action, so bear that in mind with what actions you decide to do. So actually, perhaps just fishing would be a good one, but then check what actions displease what gods. At the end of the day, just try an action if you don't know, after turning off your faithfulness, and if you get a message about a god getting upset with you, then you know that that god doesn't like that, so you'll know that action in future is not allowed. But having just read what it said, favour gain is halved when doing an action, well, perhaps then just visiting friends or something, or doing something that's not an action, is possibly best. Anyway, so there we are. Continuing on, favour can be stored in gems with the spell vessel. So that's the spell you use to capture your favour into spell gems. You first have to learn that spell, so you first have to be a priest. You can also gain favour by sacrificing valuable items or money at an altar of your god. Praying can grant you both an instant favour boost as well as a temporary favour gain rate increase, so that's very useful to know. Also, armour other than cloth slows down the rate of favour replenishment. So if you're not out fighting and you want to do train your favour or regenerate your favour, remember to switch to your cloth armour. So first off, keep all your gems. They never take damage. Keep them all in a container somewhere until you have a priest or a friend who is a priest. And if you are a priest, remember cloth armour is best for you to use. Okay, now on to sermons. Holding a sermon will reward a preacher with a faith-related bonus when preaching to a group of listeners. A valid listener is a player of the same kingdom, both followers and priests, who have not done any actions that normally give alignment gain in the past 30 minutes and is near the preacher by 4 tiles. So there we are, that's with sermons, some important things to think about. Sermons give 0.02 faith per valid listener, priest included, in the area. The minimum amount of listeners to gain faith is 4. The priest giving the sermon does not count as a listener. Sermons reset the prayer counter for the preacher if 6 valid listeners attended. So you need 7 players total to reset the prayers for the day. The preacher and 6 valid listeners. So bear that in mind, 7 in total. If you did not gain at least 0.12 faith from the sermon itself, you did not have enough valid listeners to reset your prayer counter. So that's with regards to the priest giving the sermon. Sermons do not reset the prayer timer. Followers of sermons now count as long as you have a dainty and are in the same kingdom. Well, that makes complete and utter sense. A sermon has a 3-hour cooldown for the preacher. Within this time, the preacher cannot give another sermon, although within this window, that same preacher can be a listener in another priest's sermon. So perhaps that will be one priest giving a sermon to another group of priests, and then them priests taking it in turn to give their own sermons. So it's all good. If your listeners have less than 100 alignment, they may gain up to 4 alignment depending on the number of listeners. So there's something valuable to know for your alignment gain. The alignment gain will be plus for white lighters and minus for black lighters. Sermons made by different priests need to be spaced 30 minutes apart to count. A player with an alignment gain in the last 30 minutes doesn't count towards a sermon. They won't cause a sermon to fail, but they won't count, so make sure you have enough listeners excluding them. Alignment gains exceeding 100 still count as a gain for the sermon purposes. Even if you have 100 alignment, doing any actions that would normally give alignment gain will still invalidate you as a listener. A mounted player can count as a listener, mounted on horse, but not embarked on a cart or a wagon. So ride your 5-speed to the sermon, but not your cart or your wagon. Sermons indicate how much praying is required until the god's ritual. Oh yeah, this is Wurm, and there's rituals. Ritual of the sun, rite of the spring, holy crop, and rite of death is ready. So basically what that's saying there, sermons indicate how much praying is required until the god's ritual of them following things that I just listed is ready. In order from right after casting the ritual to the ritual being almost ready. Next, I'll give you some of the messages that will be displayed during the ritual. Priest's name explains how God name is in the waning crescent and needs you to do more for him so that he may manifest his powers. So that's a message you'll see during the ritual. The priest's name explains how the God name is still waning and needs you to keep working for her so they may manifest her powers. There's another message. Priest name explains how God name is strong but still needs you to work faithfully so that she may manifest her powers. And lastly, priest name speaks of miracles soon to come. So there's some of the messages you'll see during a ritual. And I do believe that is a whole different episode. And it's a good one, but I can't promise that I'll ever get to that because some of these things require lots of people, and people in real life are always busy, so it's always really down to whether there's enough people to demonstrate. Like for this sermon, I thought rather than trouble 6 other people, I'll just simply do an episode stood in front of the altars of the 3 different white light gods. So there we have it. That's favour and sermons. Don't worry if it all does not make sense yet. What I am doing is simply segmenting up the religion in Wurm into different episodes that can be watched at your leisure at different times depending on what subject you require to be enlightened on. Wherever you are in the world, God bless you and keep every last one of you safe. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Goodbye.